this computer. Okay. So what we're going to do is Joe Haggard is going to be our guest tonight. He's going to be talking about his rail fan photography. He says he's got thousands and thousands of pictures. So we're going to be here for a while.
I don't have that many on the queue tonight, but
and
I've got some
also his club layout at the Mississippi Agricultural Center. Is that correct?
And Forestry, yeah, Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum.
Okay. And he's also going to talk about cutting trees down to build his building for his layout.
Nah, I've got some. I took a trip out to Kansas City back in April, and just some pretty cool pics. You know, I'm sure some of these guys have been to Kansas City, but for a Easterner like me, a Southerner, that was I don't get those trips very often. It was just kind of cool. It was like Kenny's trip. It was by myself. I had a work trip, and I went early and spent a day and a half doing nothing but what I wanted to do. So that was kind of cool.
Cool. All right, what I'm going to do is
Kansas
I'm
or
going to mute
Missouri?
everybody. And Joe, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and I'm going to turn everything over to you. The screen share is ready, so we're all set to go.
Okay.
All right.
Joe, were you in?
Oop. Sorry, Dave, already muted you.
All right. Is that? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Dave's got a quick question. Dave, unmute yourself real quick and ask you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Joe, you said Kansas City, Kansas or Missouri?
So we were staying in Kansas, but I went all over.
Okay.
The company that I went out there for, it was headquartered. They had offices in they had places in both Missouri and Kansas. So let's see now. Give me a second when we get there.
This is all unrehearsed, so.
Yeah, it is definitely unrehearsed. There's my. Well,
Probably need to open up your slideshow first and then hit share. There you go. Try that.
right. Yeah, it's coming. So just while it's loading up, I'll just so the club has been around for well over 60 years. I forget the exact year now, but they started out as a club that met in people's houses because they didn't have a place to go. So eventually they ended up at the and these pictures are not in any particular order, so I didn't do that. So let me get this box on the other side. So I've got my. Well, dang it, Joe. Hang on, guys. Like Ken said, this was unrehearsed.
That's right. We're amateurs, but we're just having fun.
Yeah. So the club started out, like I said, in people's homes. They would meet and do different things. Eventually, they ended up in the basement of the Deposit Guarantee Bank in downtown Jackson, and they were allowed to bring the club up, the layout up for like some of the holidays and things like that. Fast forward into the 80s, the club, Ronald McDonald House, they partnered with them and was at one of the malls here in town, North Park Mall, and charged admission, and we're open for like all the holidays and everything, and charged admission, and that money went to the Ronald McDonald House. That partnership dissolved. They went to Metro Center, and that's where I joined at in the mid 90s, late 90s, and we again had a charity. It was the Mississippi Children's Home Society. So we would open for like 4th of July, would be open all weekend, Thanksgiving through Christmas. We would open, Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, charge admission, and we would give that money to the Mississippi Children's Home Society. We typically would give them somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 a year.
Oh wow, that's great.
So it was a good thing. The Jackson, the Metro Center Mall is in a pretty crappy part of town now. They kicked us out, said they needed the storefront. There were 16 empty stores when we left. Dr. Bill Sistrunk, who's still alive, pediatrician here in town. His wife's first cousin was Lester Spell, who was the commissioner of agriculture. So he calls Lester Spell up and says, "Hey, Lester, this is Bill. The train club needs a place to go." And Lester's basically short version is like, "No problem, we'll make room." So they did. They made room for us, and we've been at the museum probably a little over 12 years now. And so you can see in that picture, you can see there's glass off to your right. The museum provided everything. They built the bench work. We gave them the specifications. They got the inmates from the county farm to come in, and they built all the bench work, painted it, put the glass up, and enclosed it. And then so everything from the bench work up and the electronics belongs to the club. So we did we own all the track, the scenery, the locomotives, the electronics, and everything. So pretty cool coexistence. There's some give and take. I mean, we can't tear up a section and decide we're going to redo it and take 6 months to do that because the trains have to run. They're set up with a lot of push button stuff so that the club can, when we're not there. Pre-COVID, there was a lot of schools that would come and do field trips there, and so there's push buttons to make the trains run a preset loop, timed, or a loop on the track, and so it has to operate. So we're very, very limited on that right there. But anyway, I'm gonna start flipping through here. Like I said, they're in no order, but what you're gonna find is there's pictures in here of our club layout, and there's also quite a few pictures of a track in Onetta, Texas that is 1.5" scale with live steam.
Okay.
I started going out there when I was 15 years old with Matt Nussbaum, who was Mick Nussbaum's father, that ran the museum in Meridian before he passed away. So we'll go. Of course, I'm the goofy guy in the front there, and that's Mick's mom in the background. If you notice the little picture there, it's named after Nussbaum Gorge there. That was named after Matt. Matt was a personal friend of the track owner. That's a SW 1500, come from a company up in Michigan, and it's got actually a Honda engine in it, gasoline engine underneath the cab there. Mm-hmm. So chain drive, very, very cool. You talking about operating a railroad? You think when we have an operating session, it's cool when you're sitting on the passenger car or the car and you get set out in the dark waiting for the next train to come pick you up. That's Terry. He passed away a few years ago. He was the track builder. He's got 20 acres there. You can see you go into the background there. We see all the diesels on the left, and the steaming bays are behind the brown shed there. But you look off to the right in the background, that's Terrytown. There's actually a tower there and a station, and the railroad on the switcher there is the Vicksburg and Mississippi Valley. That's actually my HO railroad, which, for lack of a better word, it was passed on to me by Matt. When he passed on, his widow, she said, "Joe," she said, "Matt would want you to have this." And the light bulbs went off, and I was like, there's my railroad. It was, for years, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to have, a freelance road, but I didn't have a clue what I wanted. And the light bulbs went off. I mean, it was like it was like an omen, so anyway.
That's nice.
That actually has a sound system in it. Oh, wow. Just like our HO locomotives.
Neat.
Oh, yes, understatement. Understatement. So Lake Louise stays dry most of the time. It doesn't hold water that much unless it rains a lot. Lake Louise is named after Bob Gray's wife from Columbus, Mississippi, who worked for the C&G, and you'll see pictures of him later on. And he had an 060 switcher plus a doodle bug that his wife drove, but he drove from Columbus every year out to the fall meet in Onetta for as long as anybody can remember. So it's probably my feet looking on the flat car. I think I'm taking the picture. So I'm sitting on the flat car as we're going across there. There we go again through Nussbaum Gorge. That's a BNSF-9 up front. Same thing, got a Honda engine in it and with a sound system in it. That's probably the most fun. It's a little center cab Mac that one person can ride behind. It runs off a 12-volt battery, but you can run all day on it. So that's the guy's. So the GP60 in the front, and then that's his. I think it's a 50 in the blue and the yellow. But there's a transfer table. You know, you just pull your locomotives on it and then slide them down to the bays, and that's where you park your locomotives at night. So that's Bob Gray. And the guy in the back left corner is actually a member of our club. That was a trip we took out about 5 years ago. And that's a sweet little, if you notice under his right leg, I mean, his left leg, you can't really see it, but it says on the tank car, it says B&LG. That's Bob and Louise Gray. That's theirs. So that's his little 060 switcher. Gray Yard's named after him. He would literally switch the yard with that little switcher. If you wanted your cut of cars out, you'd tell Bob, "Hey Bob, I need these cars." They're like, "All right, I got them for you," and he'd cut them out for you. So
neat. I bet he had a blast switching with that thing.
Oh, absolutely. So that's Terry Shirley in the front. That's, of course, we're double heading there. That's me, third, and then John Rudinsky. He's a member of our club. He's behind me, and then the guy in the back and the kids are actually Terry's, the owner of the track. That's actually his son and his grandchildren. So pretty cool trip. There we are. Like I said, they're double head, and that's a pretty decent grade there. It's hard to tell from the picture it's angled at, but it's those are actually coal fed. So those are literally, that's of course me taking out the FTs. He's got an ABA set and had passenger cars for all of them. So the steaming bays are off to the right over there, and we're taking them out. I think we had a 15-car passenger train. So all right, we're back to the models now. So this is
the smaller models.
Yeah, the smaller models, right? This is so our layout's kind of an E-shaped. We have loops on each end. It's double track. I mean, it's not double track. I'm sorry. I mean, it's single track, but it's a continuous loop. It's done that way so we can run when we're not there. Like I said, when the kids push the button, the train makes a complete loop. So it starts over here to the left, and I got some better pictures. That's John Jacobs. He's a member of our club that he retired from the KCS. He helped redo the Panama Canal Railway when the KCS bought it, and pretty cool guy. Got a lot of stories. Then of course Will's next, and then Kyle and Jordan, Ken and Tom have all met those. We've been down in New Orleans to operate before. So let's see. Engine house, we don't really use. We've got locomotives there, but we hardly ever turn that on, just because once you turn the power on there for the engine house, every locomotive has got a decoder in it. It cranks up and just makes this noise. It's so deafening.
Mm-hmm.
But that's Christmas party every year. That's at the Iron Horse Grill. It's an old meat packing plant that's down across from the Jackson Station. And I think this is its third reincarnation. It's actually burned a couple times.
Oh, wow.
They've got a G scale. You can barely see up in the corner up there. That track, it's suspended from the ceiling. Greg keeps it up and maintains it for him and keeps the track clean. And it's usually a pretty good gig until they spill a 10-gallon vat of tea from upstairs and it leaks down through the floorboards and the train runs through it and coats the whole track in a sweet sticky substance. So that's Greg there on the left. I think that's Dr. Bill in the back. He's probably one of the longest members of the club. So that's just a picture again of that's over at Meridian at the museum. So, boy, that's an old picture. Notice the guy kneeling second from the right there. I actually have the hair. It's not gray. So, a lot of folks in that picture aren't with us anymore. That was when we were at Metro, and we called it Metro Station. But a lot of guys that we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those guys. So anyway.
Sorry, they passed the torch along, and now we got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few pictures here that I threw in here, and I don't think Cliff's going to really mind because these are pictures pre-scenery, but this is after it had pictures of us in it. That this is the new railroad, the Columbia CNOV. The gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Something Ohio, but Cumberland and Ohio Valley. That's what it is. So of course that's Greg there, but we all have towns named after us. So this is a 28 by 32 building that he's got there, Cumberland, Ohio Valley. So this is all, like I said, pre any scenery started. This was us doing an operating session to make sure all the track work actually functioned correctly, and we didn't have any major issues before Cliff started putting scenery down. Well, that's Cliff Powers in the Disney t-shirt there. If anybody hadn't, his modeling skills, and Mark and Will and everybody can attest to it. They're off the chart. I mean, this guy he's got more talent in his pinky than I do in my whole body. He can make a scene come to life, scenery, details, you name it. He's just where his left hand is at. That's before he built the trestle that I showed y'all last week.
Okay.
That feels that right there. That was so we could run trains, but while he was building the trestle, like I said, there I am switching the yard. We were just, like I said, making sure everything operated smoothly before he started putting scenery down, which is a big deal. There's Will there. Will's silent tonight. I don't know why Will had himself muted, but Will's been coming to the club since he was a little kid. Has parents.
Yeah, I was a little twerp running around at Metro Center, and Joe and Dr. Mark and a bunch of other guys can attest to that. I was a little kid running, making dents in the floorboards around the Metro Center, and then at the Ag Museum, and then it's kind of come full circle.
You and Kyle both. You and Kyle
both in the same group of folks. It's kind of funny looking back, and my parents, remembering Greg, remembering Joe, and a lot of the other guys. It's just kind of funny.
Yep. I don't know where that's at, but that wasn't at the track in Texas. But I mean, this guy's got a pretty look at the yard in the background. It's a pretty good sized railroad to have it on your property.
Really?
These are just some. This is a bridge between Vicksburg and Edwards, Mississippi. That is, like I said, it's a concrete structure, and it goes off to the right, and it becomes a wooden trestle as it gets across the river. But it's called the Big Black River. It's just a river that flows into the Mississippi. But it's a really cool spot to take pictures at. That everybody does it. That's around the area and it's very close off the interstate. So you can get a lot of cool shots coming across that bridge. This, like I said, this one I just started throwing some stuff together. Obviously, John took that picture of me and noticed the sign in the front. That's why he took it. This is the old Vicksburg yard in Vicksburg. KCS has leased it to the WATCO or WATCO, and they really do very little there. I mean, they store a few cars, but it used to be real busy. But I took that picture. John took that picture, and he was like laughing. That's my heartache. That's the grain elevator that I'm going to try to replicate to the best of my ability for my railroad. They don't make anything like that on commercially available. So that one's going to be fun.
Styrene.
Exactly. They actually they store corn in that. So what's cool about it though is there's one north of Vicksburg, about 20 miles. I don't know if Kenny may have seen it before, but it's basically that same size, and it's got about a 6-foot wall around it, and there's no top on it. I've got a picture on my phone that a guy sent me the other day, one of my farmer friends, and there's this mound of corn up there, and they have this huge tarp that's made for it, and they pull the tarp up and close it up. Because right now they're cutting corn, and they're cutting it so fast they can't haul it out as fast as they're cutting it. So it's a seasonal storage bin, except it's not solid like this. It has a tarp on the top of it.
And what size, do you have any idea what diameter that thing is?
This, Ken, it's easily 150 to 175 foot across.
You're gonna go
It's-
full size, you're gonna compress it a little bit?
I'm gonna have to compress it some. I just don't have I have a lot of pictures of it, but there's no way I'm gonna be able to do it I'm just trying to get a fairly accurate representation. So somebody will go, I know where that is. I've seen that before. That's in Vicksburg. That's my goal. I'm not a rivet counter. I mean, it would take me 6 months to even come close to representing it faithfully, let alone all the details. But it's just kind of cool. Of course, there's a couple other members, and that's the tunnel when you come up the hill in Vicksburg, heading east towards Jackson, Mississippi.
Joe, do me a favor, when we get done, email me a picture of that dome thing.
Okay, I'll do that. That's Slade, actually. Slade's he's been in the club for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. So we're back to the club. This is our yards on the right, and this is our little intermodal yard on the left. We've talked about taking it out a time or two and putting a station in, but nobody really wants to go to that much trouble to build it. So it's not
What kind of station do y'all want to put there, like an old fashioned brick?
we want to put one that like the Jackson station. The Jackson station is an elevated station, and the tracks are basically on the top.
Okay.
But it's just, again, as I said before, told y'all before, we don't have the luxury of other clubs that we can tear something out and put it back. The trains have to run when we're not there, and we can get by with a few days, maybe even a week, but that museum would frown, and our dues are $75 a year. We don't pay utilities. We don't pay, we don't have to fix the roof when it leaks. So there's a lot of give and take, but there's also, pros and cons, things that we can do and can't do.
Well, you could build the station, away from the layout, and then if you get a chance, like, after a weekend,
and then put it in,
holidays when it's doesn't have to be open, then go in there and make the modifications,
Right. Yeah. What you're looking at on the outside of the glass there, that's the O scale that we maintain. Behind the green wall there, that's actually the end of a caboose that John Jacobs, the guy that was in one of the first pictures, it actually has a half set of trucks underneath it. He got brake wheel. I mean, that he got actual stuff, and they built that there. All the controls are up in the caboose for the O scale there. So it's Will can attest to it. It's pretty impressive. I mean, it's they put a lot of work into it, and John donated a lot of stuff himself. I mean, there's no way we would have bought all that and did this. This is pretty much this is one of our loops on the side. This is the farm area. Greg did all this, and Greg's modeling skills are really off the chart too. I mean, there's corn in the background they planted there. It's just we got some talented guys that are in the club and have been in the club. Very, very, very blessed to have them. So the other side is our logging area. It's not attached. It's on the layout, but it's not actually part of the loop. You cannot actually access it from the rest of it. It's there. We've got a little switcher that runs some logs around through the trees and the forest, and it's another animated scene so that the kids can have things to push. You notice in the pictures there's all this stuff on the other side of the glass. That's old farming equipment. On the other side, they've got some they got some old buggies. They've got a mail buggy. They've got some very old, cars. It's a really cool place. I mean, the museum is impressive. They've got multiple crop dusters hanging in there, but it's all centered around Mississippi agriculture and forestry. That's just a picture that I popped up. I hadn't seen it in years. That's Terry out there putting ballast, around one of the bridge out in Texas. Texas was a fun trip for me. Those guys, I look forward to that 1.5 inch scale every year. It was just one of those things that you don't get to be around that stuff very often. I'm gonna show some. I hope Mark doesn't mind. I'm gonna show a couple pictures here of of I don't think he minds. This is part of Cliff's old layout that Mark now owns. That was before we disassembled it.
Okay, the old layout with the New Orleans UPT.
You're right. That's it. You see just underneath Mark's chin there.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody that I've showed you in these pictures made it possible. There's Mark's layout now.
Oh wow, that's in storage.
It's in climate control storage. It took a village to get that there. You can see the tracks here for the station. The station's in the back right there.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I can't wait for the day when we get to put it back up at Mark's place and it lives again. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, it took I bet there was probably 10 of us. It took 3 weekends to get that layout disassembled. We had to rent the biggest U-Haul you could find because a couple of the sections were 19 foot long.
Yeah, 26 is the biggest one they have. Ask me how I know.
Exactly. Yes, that's what we got. Mark found that, and we used that. And like I said, we all pitched in, and it like I said, it was a huge undertaking, but it's all there, stacked up, multi levels. We had to build it as we went. You see all the uprights because we couldn't come in from the end, so it's 2 10 by 10s that they took out the middle wall for Mark. So we came in at an angle and turned it, and so we built each section as it went up. But it's there, and hopefully it'll live again soon. We're all looking forward to it. But you can see a little bit more of the station, but the interior detail of the station is absolutely amazing, guys. I mean, it's one of those things that yeah, it's unbelievable. All right, let's see. Where are my other pictures? We'll go with this one real quick. That's a very fuzzy picture. This is up in Sumner, Mississippi. This is a friend of mine, Robert Riley, that has the Rock Island that he's done. That's a Meridian and Big B caboose that he's got. I think does he have it painted again yet?
Is that the small one, Joe?
Like, is that small one? Yeah.
Yeah. I rode up to Pine Bluff last Saturday, and we had rode back, and we had been a time or two before that. But yes, it is painted up. Root rock. It is the root rock, I think, on it. And it's in the blue and the big R's on it. It looks phenomenal.
I've got a side picture of it here that's better, but this is from Meridian. Like I said, the old M&B, the Meridian and Big B caboose. We went up, kind of cool day. We got jackets on. That's a CN-840C narrow cab that Robert bought, and it's now painted in Rock Island, the red and yellow with the speed lettering on it. There's a picture. I mean, that caboose is in pretty sad shape, but he's fully restored it all. And it's according to Will, it's now painted in Rock Island paint scheme.
It is a literal night and day change. Like, you see all that rust. It looks like it just literally rolled out of the shop. It looks phenomenal.
Cool. Glad they
Joe, he was a member of the Railroad Club years ago too.
Yes, he was. He said that. I did not know that. I met Robert when I was, and I don't think I've got those pictures on here, but I got pictures of Robert when I was 17 or 18, maybe a couple years older. Robert's a little skinny fella. We're putting track together at Mick's dad's place in Bovina. Who knew Robert was going to own his own railroad? You know? He
was. I remember him back from North Park and the Metro Center days. Right. More from North Park, but yeah, he was a time or two at the Metro Center. Right.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked. I got to sit in the engineer seat over there, and there was a battery that was still hooked up to something, and it started making noise. And I'm like, "Hey guys, I didn't do it. I didn't touch anything." You know? It was like, but I mean, let's see. he's done a good job on these locomotives. I mean, he's got to get, they paint them out in the open air. They don't have an enclosed paint shop. So they just literally sandblast them, and the guy goes out there and sprays them in the middle of a field. But it's pretty impressive to see that brought back again, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
After everybody thought it was gonna, this is in Sumner, Mississippi. There's Mark, Greg, and this is obviously a Conrail that he had bought. It's in pretty good shape. It was, I mean, inside was really good and outside was good. He's that's an old Jeep 30 he's got. I think if it's not painted yet, it's going to be painted soon, I think. But of course, somebody else could probably correct me. I'm not quite sure who George Lamore is. I don't know if that's somebody from the Rock Island or that's somebody that Robert knows. But
if I remember, he was the last engineer on the original Rock Island.
Okay. I thought that it had something to do, but I didn't want to speak to that, you know, not knowing for sure. Not knowing for sure. And again, these are in no particular order, but this was probably one of my best trips I enjoyed lately. And it was simply just because the overwhelming, I mean, I have never been to a town that had as much train stuff as Kansas City does. I'm sure, I guarantee, I know that Chicago has a lot and every, you know, other towns, but I personally have never visited a town that had as much train stuff as Kansas City does. That's the Kansas City terminal, you know, making a transfer. But this is obviously, as it says up there, this is Argentine Yard for one of 2 BNSF yards in Kansas City. That picture there is not even all of them, but that was locomotives to be serviced, repaired, you name it. You can see in the back how there's you know, some all the way in the back. They were just lined up for days. I'm on an overpass, the kind that's got the little walkway on it, and it's got chain link up this side that comes out over the walkway. So I've got my camera and I've got it between the chain links to get these pictures.
Yeah.
So they actually turned out really well considering that. Like I said, they're all mixed up. This is downtown Kansas City. I don't know if anybody watches the Rail Fan, the video, the live feed, the cameras.
Virtual
Rail Fan. This is down at Doc's Caboose.
Oh yeah.
It's actually a spot on there.
Yeah, that's on Virtual Rail Fan.
Very, very crappy hobby shop, but a very nice place to watch trains at. It was bad hobby shop. I mean, it was, yeah. Hobby Town had more than they ever had. But anyway, nice guy. He seemed a little stoned, like he'd had a little too much drugs and rock and roll back in the 70s, but he was a super nice guy. You know, it's kind of it's kind of trashy in places, but the streets were fairly clean, and I never felt like I was unsafe, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is an area of town that they're doing a lot of revitalization. They're redoing that building there in the background. They've done a lot of them. They have street festivals down there. This one, I think I drove over this overpass. This one didn't have a chain and no walkway on it. I literally think I drove over it probably 12 times before I finally, because I had to stop in the very top of it and run to the edge and take the picture. And I think it took at least 12 times before there wasn't a car coming behind me. Of course, like I said, I'm by myself in Kansas City. So it was like, hey, you know, nobody knows me. It's no big deal. But I thought was pretty impressive. There's like 3 coal trains just sitting there just waiting to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not something we see, but that's at UP's yard. And I just took, man, some of these pictures are just because I can't believe that. I mean, I see all these trailers stacked up, you know, and I've got one. That's a little switcher. There's this was next across from BNSF's Murray yard. And of course I couldn't, there were fences and I definitely didn't want to get on private property, but just some pretty cool little switchers that were there. They work on them and redo them, and you know, I'm sure they sell them. That one turned out pretty bad.
Actually, I think it's kind of cool with the dark.
Yeah, so that's coming in from the south. So those trains are heading north, and I pulled up to this is Argentine Yard. I can't tell you how many miles long it is total. It was just ridiculous. This was on the far south end, and I stopped for a minute, and like in 5 minutes, there was 8 trains that had come by or were waiting to come in and come out. So I just thought that was impressive. Thought that was kind of cool as a something for your yard, for a modern railroad. It tells you the different tracks, So a lot of my stuff I take pictures of are for modeling purposes, for future reference and that kind of stuff. That was a little Jeep 28 that was at Murray Yard. They used remote control for switching. It was just kind of sitting out there all by its lonesome self. But that's again down in the area where Doc's caboose is. That's on the BNSF line, very near Santa Fe Junction.
Okay.
Where they had the wreck at.
Right.
That center beam car that kicked up, very near that. Again, like I said, downtown Doc's caboose, but they seem to be doing a real job of revitalizing the area. It's not often that we see graffiti on locomotives.
No.
So that was the reason that was in there. Of course, I noticed, you're looking at all these older second generation power, and they've got AC units mounted. It looks like an AC unit off your camper. That's what it looks like. But like I said, a lot of my pictures are strictly for modeling purposes, and I'm not the best picture taker in the world, but I'm gonna tell you what, it was definitely one of my most memorable trips. Mainly because I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have my wife going, I'm tired of looking at trains, so let's go shopping. So
You're shopping.
you're exactly. These were at Argentine Yard again. They were what I thought was on the wash rack, but that's an old 40-2 Snoot. Haven't seen many of those. But there were, again, like I said, that's got 2 mufflers on it, which I thought was, so the right hand side, it goes up and mimics what's on the front here. So I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's got two engines in it. I haven't done any research on it yet to see what, but the exhaust pipes come out of both sides of it. So it lends me to think that it's got 2 engines in it. But I don't know any like I said, anything about it. Those were at KCS's deadline, or not deadline, but not in use line at the KCS CP yard. So I guess I went to the only place where the Kansas City Southern and the Canadian Pacific actually overlap. They actually share a yard there in Kansas City. Dave may know more about that. It's closer to him than it is to me.
Are those the BNSF colors?
Yes, they were looked to me like old -9s that they leased, and they just patched out for the KCS.
Yeah.
But they were all stored at this point.
That's what they call the Noche yard, Knoche.
Yeah.
Used to be a joint yard with the Sioux.
Right.
Ian took over the Sioux. That's where they joined. That's
right.
That's another huge yard.
It is. Yes, it was. Every yard there was huge. I was just overwhelmed, and I took that picture. That was in what I thought was on the wash rack. But when's the last time you've seen a GP30 that was still in, that was in Cascade Green? There's probably not many of those left. So yeah, I took some of these pictures of these grain elevators. That's mind-boggling to me, how big they are. They dwarf everything that we have around here. Like I said, a lot of modeling stuff. That's just another picture of that switcher. That's kind of like that grain bin that I've got wanting to build, but like I said, that was pretty cool. I couldn't get closer to it, but that's a high nose GP38-2. Probably not many of them left either.
Really?
This one, like I said, I was very, I made sure to stay off their property. Most all these pictures, I have a pretty good I don't take now Kenny's pictures, put mine to shame. Kenny's a photographer. I'm a very much of an amateur at this. I point and click, hope it turns out good.
That's
But,
the great thing about digital. You can point and click a lot.
Exactly. And I deleted a bunch of pictures that I didn't save, but that was coming in near Doc's caboose. Got that Fairmax unit on there. But I mean, the cool thing about Kansas City is it didn't matter where you looked, there was a train coming. It was everywhere. If you waited 5 minutes, if there was nothing, there come another one. So it was just that's NS's shop there. I've got a few pictures of that. That one was pretty cool. Not many of those old gray ones around. Like I said, I couldn't get a good picture without getting on property, so I stayed off of it. And that's at Argentine again. And like I said, man, there was just trains moving everywhere. How I took pictures of these for like to make signs with, for my yard, for like I said, for modeling stuff. This guy was kind of a turd. I was definitely on public property because there was a fence there, but he kept looking at me and I waved a couple of times and he just looked at me like, what do you want? And I was like, okay, nice. Have a great day. Thanks, but he didn't want his picture taken apparently, but the Kansas City terminal was very, very hard to get to without that's the one, Pat. KNOCHE.
Yeah, that's on the northeast side of Kansas City, Missouri.
Right.
Probably the northernmost yard, the northern and easternmost yard in Kansas City. And it's huge.
It is big.
Like you said, they're all huge.
Yeah, they make everything. This is just one section of Argentine yard. And I just took that picture just because, I don't know how you keep it straight, what track you're on. I mean, they're just everywhere. I would have loved to have had a drone, but to just, I guarantee it looked like a bowl of spaghetti probably. But I spent a lot of time at Doc's caboose, as you can tell. This grain elevator, I get off the airplane and I get a rental car and I'm heading into town. And this is the first thing I see. I'm driving along, right turn. Next thing I know, I'm down here and I had to remember that the hobby shop's closed because I flew in on Saturday and only had about 4 hours to hit the hobby shops because they were closed on Saturday and Monday and Tuesday I was in business. So I had to pull myself away from that and go to the hobby shops first. And then come back to rail fan. The trains are always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Man.
Like I said, that just mind-boggling how many locomotives. There's still, if you look in the far right there, that Santa Fe has not been patched yet. It's still in the war bonnet. And then there's just to the in kind of the center where you see those locomotives in the back, there's still a blue and a yellow in there. I couldn't get a good picture of it, so I have no idea if it's been patched or not. But
kind of in the back.
Yeah, kind of in the back there. The shops though were just massive. I can only imagine what it was like to be inside of them. But again, tracks everywhere.
Hey guys, that blue and yellow unit would definitely be patched. Actually, all of them have been patched at one point or another. A couple of them have been patched so long ago that the patches are wearing off, so it looks like they hadn't been.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just couldn't get close enough, but that was pretty cool to see the war bonnet. It did not look like it was patched. Like I said, some of the pictures are fuzzy, and I didn't have a good. That was the best of the ones I took. So saw a couple toasters from on the UP especially. They were pretty much it, and KCS had the toasters, but this is looking the opposite direction from the engine house in Argentine Yard. So the engine house is directly behind me, and this is looking what I consider kind of south. So yeah, you can see that Santa Fe. Oh, I see now. The side of it's been patched.
Oh, yep. There you go.
You can see the BNSF on it there. Let's see.
Yeah, sometimes that sublettering is the patches are just real small sublettering, and that's all it is. So it's hard to see.
Right. UP pretty much ran, you know, they had a pusher on almost everything, you know.
Joe, go back one, to that,
Do I now?
go back one to that war bonnet unit.
Yeah.
In 1988, the Santa Fe was, had been teasing folks that they were going to bring back those SDP 45s
Right.
in the war bonnet paint scheme, and had teased the idea. And a buddy of mine had gotten word that they were going to pull the first unit out of the paint shop on a certain day. He and I drove up there, and I was standing on that bridge you were talking about with the chain link.
Right.
When they pulled that locomotive out, and Jim and I got some of the first pictures of that locomotive after it had been painted in that very location where that locomotive is.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is just, I mean, I've got definitely some bucket list places that I definitely want to go to now that I didn't do, you know, after doing this. Here these other pictures are. I knew I had them somewhere.
All right.
I mean, you can tell that's an old picture. That's Matt Nussbaum in the middle. That's his son Nick driving that one there, Pat. So that's the guy from Texas, and there's Matt Nussbaum sitting in the back there with the dog on the deal. That tank car is kind of cool because it's got a cooler in it. It's got a little thermometer, so you can keep your beer cold. The top comes off, and you keep your beer in there. That's the picture that I told y'all I had. That's me on the right. That's my best friend Chuck on the left. He's a year younger than I am. We met when we were 15 in Boy Scouts, and that's Robert Riley sitting in the very top on the little scooter there, and we're bolting track sections together. This is
Now,
probably,
is that the same Robert Riley that owns the Rock Island?
yes, sir. That is him.
Oh, wow.
That is him.
Have you sent him that photo?
I have. I mean, look at that picture. I try to hide that one. I mean,
I love that.
I'm probably 23, 24 there, maybe. Actually, it may be a little bit later than that. And it's probably got to be, this picture is probably around 99, because that's my son in the front there. And that's my best friend's son in the back there. That's Chuck's best friend. That's my godson in the back. So Cody's probably 4 or 5 there, and he was born in 95. So that's Mick's sister right there. On the south end of there. Like I said, I actually had no gray in my beard, and those were some fun days. I wish I could go back and relive them again. Let's see. We looked at some of these. That's over in Meridian at the museum there. That's what that caboose, the one that was all rusty, that's what it looked like when it was on the M&B. And
Okay.
let's see.
Heritage Fleet.
That's in October of 2016. That's when the 844 came to Memphis to dedicate the walking bridge across the old Mopac bridge across in Memphis there. So that hence the Mopac unit as the diesel backup for the 844. Let's see if it'll play. I'm a lot closer to the tracks than I realized I was there, and it probably won't play. And so the train gets kind of close, and all of a sudden the video just abruptly stops. That's because it's me going, oh crap, I'm closer than I think I am. Let me get out of the way. So I jumped out of the way. Anyway, that's another video. For some reason, my videos aren't going to play on here. That's over Meridian. we went one day, man, we went to a train show in Birmingham and we just stopped back and took pictures. I have no idea what's in this file here. That's in Brookhaven.
That's interesting. The lights they have set up on there.
The city did that, I guess, just because it's such a historic landmark.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the old Colin Tower there. Because they put a sign on it. So that's what makes me think the city did it, modeling loads. That's actually at a steel mill that we have here in Jackson, Mississippi. They've got two switchers of their own that they switch the steel mill with. It's actually in Flowood, Mississippi, not that. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
There we go. I didn't know I had these pictures. So that was the Cliff's original layout, 14 by 32. So when he tore it down, he doubled it up, but we saw those.
I think that's where we started. Yeah, and that
Yeah. This is a different file. So that's out in Ogden, Utah, at the Rail Museum there.
They got quite a collection there too.
They do. That's that DD40. So we went in December, like the first or second week of December of 18. And, the next year is when they were doing, not long after that, they were doing the Golden Spike there. But my wife and I went out for a trip and she took all these pictures and she really had a blast taking them. She enjoyed the Rail Museum. That's the sister to 844 right there. That's there. One of the turbines. Steam rotary.
Mhm.
Those are big blades. I've got a picture standing in front of them. I guess I don't know what I expected, but it's a lot bigger than what I thought it was. That's one of my favorite pictures. It's just kind of cool with the mountains in the background. And my wife wanted me in it, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna ruin it. So so I didn't do it. That right there, that's one of my unique finds. I couldn't get any closer to it. I zoomed in pretty good, but I've got a picture kind of from the other end of it too. That's a pretty cool looking little motor car. It kind of looks like a little pickup truck, but it's there it goes.
I like that it's got rear view mirrors.
Yeah. It was kind of cool. I thought, man, that's pretty cool. That's definitely a motor car I wouldn't mind tooling along the track. You got room for other people in there. You got room for your tools.
It's almost like a miniature galloping goose.
Right. I don't know if anybody knows where those are now. That was in Canton, Mississippi, and they've moved them now. I don't know who owns them now.
Tennessee Valley Railroad
Tennessee
Tennessee
Valley
Valley. Oh, hey, Kenny.
Yeah. I just I kept hearing rumors that they were going to move them, so I went and took pictures while I could get them.
Yeah,
Actually,
they're supposed to be restoring them to operational condition. It probably would take a while, but that's what the plan is anyway.
Well, I can tell you that this one is going to take a while.
Yeah.
I climbed up in it. There's a lot of missing parts. But there's also a lot of parts that are just laying on the walkways in there. It's going to take them a while, but it's a shame that the locals had vandalized them. I mean, any window they could break out was broken out. Of course, right across the street is like an apartment complex. That's just kind of it's pretty rough looking in there.
So I guess they're like parked by the apartments that are kind of on the wrong side of the tracks.
They were.
Okay.
That's my future model railroader. She's 4.5, and she has trains at JoJo's house, and that's all she ever wants to play with. JoJo, play with my trains with me. So anyway, that's Robert again on the left there. That's inside that Conrail caboose. So y'all can see, not a very clear picture, but it's pretty good shape inside there. Not demolished. He's some of one of these motor cars, and I don't know which one it is actually when he was a teenager or early 20s and was working on a little short line in Mississippi. The motor car that he used to do track work, he ended up buying it years later, and it's now his. Robert has a penchant for buying what he wants to buy. Let's see. I'd be nice to be able to buy that. All right, I think we looked at all these.
Yeah.
I saw that out in Kansas City. It was, I mean, pretty much all the wheels were off for it, but it was a 40-foot Norfolk and Western trailer. I just like that's pretty rare. That's another GP30 that was sitting next to that green one that had already been patched. Let's see. Yeah, we look. Ooh, I wonder who that is.
It's Mid-South.
This is downtown Edwards. I shared you the pictures of the station a week or so ago. The station would have been to the right-hand side of that second unit right there. My friend Danny Johnson took this picture. It's actually in focus. I don't know why my computer's not showing it in focus. Danny's, again, you can see his signature in the bottom left. Danny is a phenomenal photographer. He can he is really good at it. The whole shot just looks good. The clouds, the lighting, but it is actually in focus. I don't know why it's not showing. Oh, wow.
Ooh, that's interesting.
That is less than 2 weeks after Katrina in Gulfport and Biloxi. That was the casino ship that or barge that looks like a ship, and it was sitting on the beach in Biloxi. I didn't know where these pictures were. It's amazing what I got in this file. This file was just one I grabbed hold of. That's one of the casino barges and it's on the north side of 90 that the storm picked up, turned it sideways, went between the two buildings, and then turned it back the other way and never touched either buildings on the side of it. It's too wide to go between the two buildings. So
it went across the highway too, right?
It's across the highway. So it was like this, and it would have hit the buildings. It turned it this way, went between the buildings, and turned it this way and sat it back down again.
So storm surge.
Yep, and that was Katrina, obviously.
Wow.
In Gulfport and Biloxi.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot I even had those. Wow. So that's Bob Gray's little caboose in the yard there. So
that's a nice speeder.
Yeah, that's Bob. I don't know why all these pictures are so grainy here, because they're not that way. That's another picture my friend Danny took. That's the business train coming across the Mississippi River Bridge in Vicksburg.
That's nice.
It is a very nice picture. I mean, that's the kudzu cut. That's the tunnel in the top left side that goes. You go through that tunnel and the track goes down, and it's that steep grade that goes down to the river. Boy, Kenny, Mark, look at that picture. That's at Metro Center. That's Leo and Johnny. That's got to be in the early 90s, at least. Wow.
Yeah, that's the 90s. I was a member of the club back then.
Gotcha.
And I don't know whether I was there when that was done, but that's like probably 91 or 92.
Mm-hmm.
That's before me, because when I joined the club, the left side over here was already complete. You had the duck under, or you had the swing for Johnny to come in. It was already complete when I joined the club. So
Hey Joe, can you send me that picture? Can you email that to me?
absolutely. Yeah, I can do that.
I'd like that. I miss
Yeah.
both them guys.
Yeah. Oh man, we do.
Man.
That's a weathering session. So y'all get a kick out of this. Johnny Jones was the guy in the wheelchair. Johnny was a super guy, but Johnny was it was going to be his way. So he's sitting to the right of me, which left in this picture, and he didn't bring a car to weather. So I've got an old Milwaukee Road Atherton Blue Box car. We were all just trying stuff out then. And I said, here, Johnny, weather this one. I'm not going to do one. I'm like, come on. All right. So he's got the car up here and he's got his paintbrush, and Johnny's doing it from side to side like this. And Greg's going, Johnny, you've got to do it up and down. Oh, don't tell me how to do that car. So I have this Milwaukee Road box car that Johnny weathered, to my knowledge, the only one Johnny ever weathered. And it was done side strokes on it. And I will never get rid of it. And I treasure it as the most expensive thing I have, just because it was, you know, that's Louise Gray and her doodle bug. So
that's a great story.
man, and they were together. That's Robert. I don't know why these are so dang grainy. They're not on my computer, but that's Robert, what he looks like today. Not a little skinny fella like in that picture that I did. I did not take that picture, but I thought that was a very cool picture. That's downtown Jackson. That's the old King Edward Hotel. That was they've redone it now. And it's like apartments up in the very top, and it has hotel rooms in it now. The Amtrak station is just off to the left of this picture. But I found this, and you see the guy in the right fixing to switch the switch stand, but I have no idea who took that picture. Somebody sent it to me. And so I'm not claiming any ownership of it, but I thought it was a really cool, very well done picture. So that's the Edwards picture. Of course, that's the hardware store in the back right behind those trees. That's the building you see in the back right there. I worked there in high school. It was a hardware store and a Napa auto parts store. That was my hangout. And so anyway, that's obviously the new tunnel and a good bridge. All right. I think that's about it. I want to look at some of them, but there was a lot going on here. So
okay, why don't you talk about
Yeah, that's
the
pretty much
layout that you're building for yourself next, and
yeah.
your progress on that and what your plans are.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a boom lift coming.
Go
I
ahead
was going to do it this week.
Go ahead and stop sharing your screen.
Oh yeah.
Then go ahead.
Let's
Thank
stop
you.
that.
There we go.
Yeah, was going to work on it this weekend. But I mean, Will and Mark know, but we had had a family issue popped up this week, and it's we've got a funeral on Friday. My wife's niece, her mother found her in the bed about 12:30, 1 o'clock Monday, and so she's been that way for a little while. So I've canceled my boom lift for this weekend. We've got the funeral Friday, and family's going to be in town still, so that kind
That's
of
a shame. Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. So hopefully next weekend is the plan to cut the last 3 trees down. And so as soon as the trees are down, we'll start digging footings, and 18 by 28. My business, our construction company is going to do the concrete, and so it's going to be overbuilt. It's going to have way more steel in the footings than it should, but I don't want it to sink. I don't want it to crack. I don't want it to move on me. I want my layout to be, when I build it, I want it to be intact. So should be, we're talking about, let's see, now in middle of September. I would hope that we'll definitely get the concrete poured before Christmas, unless it just rains for 3 months. It really won't take long. I mean, we'll dig it one weekend, form it up, and then we'll pour it the next weekend on Saturday morning. So it shouldn't be that big a deal. But so I should be able to start, and I'm going to let it sit for 30, 60 days. Make sure it cures out really good. But we're going to stamp it. So I'm covering the concrete. I've got some wood plank stamps that are 16 inches wide, and it's got the pegs where it looks like for the old floors where they pegged them down. So I'm going to do it kind of an old brown. It's going to look like an old country store floor in the train room. I wouldn't do this if we weren't in the concrete business, because it can get expensive. But when you've got the people that are doing the concrete for nothing because they work with you, and you don't have to buy forming material, you don't have to buy rebar, it makes a huge difference. So
yeah,
I figured we're going to go ahead and splurge on it. So to make it look nice, instead of, I really don't want carpet. I don't want tile. So I'm gonna make it look like I'm trying to make it look nice. So we're gonna should get the concrete done, like I said, by Christmas time easily, let it sit. And as soon as the weather, and we don't have bad weather, we have a little cold here and there, but I mean, most weekends, you know, you get up on Saturday, it's a light jacket or, you know, until mid morning, and then you can take that off and with a long sleeve shirt. So we can frame it. So my goal is to have it framed up and blacked in, you know, by before the summer heat hits. That way I can work on it inside the air condition after that point and go from there. So we're gonna, thankfully I have a lot of good friends because it's like Mark knows this and Will and everybody. I mean, when Mark goes to put his back up, it's going to be all hands on deck. Everybody's going to pitch in, and you know, we help each other. And so I think everybody's excited to one day put Mark's up and help me frame mine up and, you know, get it insulated and everything. So then we're going to do like Cliff did. I'm going to build my bench work, and I'm going to lay every piece of track before I put the first piece of scenery down. We're going to work it. We're going to make sure it operates smoothly without any hiccups. So we'll have some mini operating sessions with the guys over, and like I said, we'll kind of work it through its kinks. And like I said before, the first piece of scenery's down. Cliff did that, and I'm trying to learn everything I can from Cliff. His turned out so amazing. If mine's even, you know, a smidgen of it, I'll be happy. So we should, I mean, I should have, you know, track down by the middle of the summer. Obviously, funds are a big deal because track has gone stupid. Switches have gone stupid. I definitely wished I had bought track and switches over the past 10 years instead of waiting until now. But hey, as Mark's fond of saying, such is life.
Well, now you got all kinds of new technology to make all that stuff too, so you'll have the best
Right.
available
Right.
once
But
you can get it.
Track's the big thing. I wished I'd have just, you know, bought a bunch of micro engineering track and just stockpiled it. But
I don't know where to get any of that stuff.
Kevin Rubel the other night was saying that, and Chris Palmares, he was saying that it's available. He said you can order it from micro engineering. He said they're about to get caught up.
Yeah, I
What he
just
said.
came into Glenn gave me a few pieces last week. Yeah, when
Right.
we moved in, so that's going to come in handy. Thank you, Glenn.
Well, I'm hoping that I get 2 boxes of it back. I've been promised it, but he doesn't actually. He sold it, and it hasn't gotten back to him yet. So the guy passed away. Friend of Cliff's. And Pat, did you know Roger? I don't. Roger Graves.
Pat's still on mute.
I did not know he had passed. When did that happen, Joe?
What, Mark? Probably it's been over a year, hadn't it? About
a little over a year ago.
Yeah, a little over a year ago. Got COVID, and the medicine. Cliff thinks the medicine. Am I right, Mark? Cliff thinks the medicine did it. But anyway, he got COVID and got pretty sick and he was in the hospital for quite a while before he passed. But yeah, and to my understanding, he had ordered a metal building and had the concrete poured out back for his a nice size layout. He had already, I mean, the metal building had been paid for.
Well,
So
I knew he'd ordered. I knew he was gonna get put a building up out there. But
Right.
That was the last time I talked to him. The Lord was 2 years.
Yeah, I never really. I mean, I've seen him a time or two at Cliff's, but never. You know, him and Cliff and Greg were really good friends. You know, he just didn't. He wasn't in our circle that every day. But we heard a lot through Cliff. But yeah, about a year ago. It's been almost a year. So yeah, I mean that's. I'm just being honest. I mean, I've said it before. I'm 51, and I don't want to be that guy that waits till I'm retired or wait till I can't do something before I get my layout. I mean, this is what I do. I don't hunt, you know, fish every now and then. This is my enjoyment. So I you know, I want to enjoy it while I can still do it. I'd love, you know, obviously I would love to have the majority of it done before retirement so that I can, you know, Mark and I were talking I guess it was a week ago, Mark, we went to Cliff's, Yeah, it was a week ago. We went to Cliffs on a Sunday afternoon and just kind of had a fun run. And I posted that video of the Mid-South units in one of Cliff's in one of his scenes there. And we can't wait till we get Mark's layout up and go. Mine, they'll all three big enough, and we want to have kind of a rotating operating sessions and actually interchange cars between the three of us. And we're all here in the local area. I mean, we're all within a 15-mile, drop a point on a map. We're all within 15 miles of each other, so it makes it, very easy to do.
Well, that's cool. Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, since you brought up the interchange thing, talk a little bit more about your railroad that you're going to model. I know you're going to do that freelance one you talked about.
Yeah, the Vicksburg and Mississippi Valley
area, the area you're going to model, and the era.
Yeah. So the Vicksburg and Mississippi Valley, as I told y'all earlier, came from Matt Nussbaum, from my friend. It was just an epiphany. I mean, it's like I couldn't for years. I mean, we're talking like 20 years. I could not come up with a name I wanted to call it. And Matt passed when he passed, and about 10 years later, Jeannie gave me all the artwork for the graphics, gave me about half a box of hats that Matt had. And we're talking about the really old style high trucker hats, but it was, it was nice. And it just kind of hit me out of nowhere. It's like, that's what I want to do. So, he based it off as y'all saw the colors, based it off the IC passenger colors, the brown and the orange. I'm still playing with Patrick's help a little bit. Patrick Harris, we've become pretty good friends, and he's kind of helping me a little bit with some of gonna try some on Photoshop, kind of come up with some paint schemes before I go and paint up some models. And I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. So we're gonna work out some paint and see how it kind of looks on there before we go and do that. So basically, what my railroad is going to cover is the Vicksburg and Mississippi Valley is essentially Vicksburg and north, instead of the Mid-South or now the Watco. It's going to be your I'm a big CN fan also, so I have a lot of Canadian National stuff, which is very funny because I was a Grand Trunk and Canadian National fan long before the CN bought the IC. My best friend's dad was from Michigan, and so that's how I got introduced to the Grand Trunk and then the Canadian National after that. I'm trying to get some pictures put on, get them digitized that we took in the early 90s in Michigan. Got pictures of the car ferries, because the tunnel was we were there the year before they bored the new tunnel under the St. Clair River. You had to use the car ferries because the double stacks and the auto racks wouldn't fit through the tunnel. So anyway, we became a Grand Trunk fan. So the CN is going to be the north-south road, and then it's the Vicksburg and Mississippi Valley is going to be in Vicksburg there. And I'm actually trying to model it, not rivet counter level, but faithfully replicate the industries that are there. I've got pictures of the old cotton compress that's now demolished. It was a kind of unique looking structure. I've got pictures of the Bungie grain elevator there, International Paper in Redwood, Ergon Refining, a little small refinery, and a metal shop that got coal cars in up on the harbor. So with the harbor there in Vicksburg and downtown at IP, it's more than enough industries. Oh, and Anderson Tully. Anderson Tully is huge. They were a lumber. They got lumber in from barges off the canal, as well as trucks. They had multiple facilities. They had I got tons of pictures of Mill D. It unloaded straight off the canal, come up over the seawall. They slabbed them different sizes. Then they put them on trucks and took them uptown, probably 6 or 7 miles to the other mill, and that's where they really made lumber out of it. They cut slabs at Mill D. Tons of 6-bay wood chip hoppers coming in. So there's plenty of industries just in the Vicksburg area that I can model way more than I have room for my layout. So,
Joe,
yes.
Joe, did Danny Johnson share with you his manuscript that he did on the A and B?
He did.
Okay, all right. So you've got that.
Danny, and I met Danny, Mike Carrick, was my friend, and I met. He's the guy from Port Huron. They lived in Vicksburg. His father-in-law was vice president at Anderson Tully, and so he worked at Mill D as an electrician. Right, which Mill D was right across from the old passenger from the yard in Vicksburg, and so I met Danny through that, and that's how I met Matt Nussbaum, and then eventually Mick and everything. And so yes, then of course found out years later my mom and dad were in Eastern Star with Danny and his wife. So they it's just a full circle come around. But that's the plan. And like I said, talking through with Cliff the other day, I figured out a way I'm going to have the Mississippi River Bridge, not exact again, but close enough that you're going to know what that is. That I'm going to be able to, that's what's going to go to staging on one end of mine. It's going to open kind of, when you walk in the doors, you're going to see that bridge. You're going to be open doors up. You're going to see that bridge, and it comes from the peninsula, and it's going to go, when it goes to the wall over here, it's literally going to head down and go to staging. So that's going to be all points west of the Mississippi River. So when you come from Shreveport, Dallas area, you're going to come up, you're going to cross the bridge, you're going to come into Vicksburg. Not quite sure how the hill's going to work. I haven't worked that into it yet because I don't, I want the staging is going to be underneath, and my heights are going to, I don't know, that there's still a lot of design, but that's kind of the plan is come into Vicksburg, and you're going to it's going to be compressed because I mean I've got the harbor, I've got some towboats, the Sylvan kit that I'm going to put together. I want barges. I think that's just so cool. So the barge areas are going to fold down so that when you're operating, it's not in the way. I don't want to take up any aisle space, but they'll fold up and have locks that hold it in place, and the barge sits on it, or the towboat or whatever. But it will fold down for operating sessions. And the era is, that's hard for me. I haven't really nailed it down yet, but I'm really thinking that we're talking about late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm kind of leaning towards a little bit the guy that has the Utah belt. I kind of like what he does. I kind of like how he modernizes his layout as time goes on. So, but I love SD40-2s. I love those. So, it's, I don't know, Ken. I mean, it's going to be one of those, it's kind of, there's not really going to be Mark's got a drop dead date for him that he doesn't want to be any newer than that. I haven't settled on that yet. Like I said, I love the 40-2s. I just love seeing, a big lash up pulling this or that. But I kind of like his idea of modernizing your fleet, as you're going, and he sells it off, and people pay crazy money on eBay or for a Utah belt locomotive. I mean, I'm not saying I'll ever be there, but so probably 2000s, late 90s, early mid 2000s.
You can always keep it updated, but then you can always keep the older stuff and run a backdated session.
Exactly, and I've got enough of both, so that's kind of
remember the plan. It's your railroad. You can do what you want.
There's going to be a sign when you walk in the door. It's my railroad. It's my way. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But I mean, this is my enjoyment. And it's my stress relief, and I want to keep it that way. So like I said, we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. I never dreamed I would get it this early, but my wife is like, you need it. You spend you've got too much stuff. It's in boxes. So
who says you got too much stuff?
Her, not me.
You have just enough stuff, but then if you modernize, you got to get more modern stuff.
Well, that doesn't seem to be a problem. That seems to, every time I turn around on the new announcements, I'm just like, golly, so Athearn and Otter Valley, just made that announcement for those 63 foot, I may be wrong on the length, but those high-sided guns that they use for trash and cottonseed and stuff like that. I'm like, dang, those things are nice, so, there will be a lot of run-through trains, Ken. But I mean, we're on the east-west, and we're on the Meridian Speedway. I mean,
yeah,
you can see anything. I mean, we've seen military trains. We just don't see many coal trains through here. You know, you've got one north-south on the CN
Yeah.
fairly regularly, but I mean,
What you need to also talk with Chris Palmieri, not necessarily about doing home shops cars, but about interchange with his Meridian Speedway that he's got.
right? Yes, I know. There's so much possibility, and that's what I love about the hobby right now, where we're at. I mean, look at us talking. I mean, Neil and Rod are in Australia. You know, Mike's in Colorado, Bob's in Colorado, Oregon. I mean, we're all over. I mean, and we're chatting like we're down the street.
Exactly.
It's just, man, it's a cool time to be in the hobby right now. I mean,
you know what? I bet a lot of this probably would not have happened if it hadn't been for COVID, because people found a different way to connect and stay in touch and get to know new people and have new kind of meetings.
I never even heard of Zoom pre-COVID.
No,
I mean, I guess maybe some of the high-powered executives that, you know, maybe that there's been platforms for them to have meetings from around the world, but the common guys like us, that wasn't on our radar. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very cool. I mean, you're right. I mean, I would have never met Neil and Rod. You know,
same.
Gerald lives not far from, you know, me most of the time. Didn't know he existed, you know what I'm saying? And we're in our backyards. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's very, very cool. So we're
a great time to be in model railroad. It really is.
I think so. I mean, it's just, and there's so much coming out. I mean, it's just every time you turn around, they're making a new announcement. It's like, there goes my pocketbook, there goes my wallet.
There's so much information that you can easily find at your fingertips, you know, with just the click of the mouse.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of that, I think I may have showed y'all, but it come in. That is one of the 3 pictures of the downtown Edwards area with the tracks. And this is on an album that I got. It's called Ramblin' on My Mind, a collection of classic train and travel blues. And I was just searching through and found that picture. It's like, that's downtown Edwards. There's only 3 pictures that I know of from anywhere in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and this is one of the 3 of them. And it made it. I mean, it's not a ZZ Top album, you know, but I mean, it's still it's published. I mean, and it was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, here's one, and I haven't listened to it yet because my daughter has come bring me a record player. It says she caught the M&O. I mean, I have, you know, some of these songs. I mean, Highway 61, standing at the Greyhound bus station, hear that whistle blow. Freight Train Blues, you know, Rambling on My Mind. It's just, yeah, but it was just like, I gotta have that. It was like $15 on eBay.
Oh yeah, well, you gotta listen to that. If you don't have a turntable, you're gonna have to invest in one just to listen to that.
Go to a record, you know, junk shop, and you can probably buy one for $10.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So, Mark, you probably got one, don't you?
Turntables, yeah, I've got several of them.
Y'all could have a club meeting and listen to your record.
Mark's got lots of stuff. Mark got lots of stuff. So anyway, it was yeah. Well, look, I just thank y'all for listening. I mean, I like I got, my gosh, I love pictures, and the format now that we can take them. You know, I started taking pictures when I would. All right, we're going to go take pictures on Saturday. All right, let me go to the drugstore or Walmart and buy 6 rolls of 35mm film, you know, and I'm snapping away. And I was like, oh, crap, I'm on 28 or 29. It's only a 24 exposure roll, you know. So,
you got to try and be more selective in your picture taking back then.
Exactly.
I hope this comes out because I don't have enough choice to get it.
Look, I told y'all about my buddy Mike, and we're up in Michigan, and I found a picture the other day. We're filming the car ferry. They're loading the car ferry, okay? Mike's standing there in front of the 1991 dark blue Ford Aerostar van that had that sloping windshield that looked like the space shuttle. I mean, the shuttles off Star Trek. And he's got this video camera that is like almost 2 foot long. It's on your shoulder because it's so heavy, and he's standing here like this with the controls, and we thought we were big time. It took a full-size VHS tape. We could take some videos, you know, And so I got pictures with him standing there looking like this, grinning at me, and I've got this nice Minolta with this 70 to 210 zoom. And I thought I was something, it's like, look at us, and now, man, Danny can take pictures that Danny Johnson that just makes,
Cell phone.
of course, photography's his passion too. So, he just makes it look so amazingly easy.
Cool.
And anyway, Kenny,
right,
you
Joe.
look like you about laid back reclining, aren't you?
Yeah, there's a couple of them guys reclining back there.
Yeah.
At least they stayed awake. You didn't put them to sleep.
That's all
Nah,
right.
it's good stuff.
Like I said, Kenny, we don't see
Good
Kenny
stuff.
much. Kenny's had Kenny's little baby was sick a lot after
Yeah.
she was born, and so Kenny doesn't stick around much.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, I want to thank Joe for being here and sharing everything with us.
Hey
Does
guys,
anybody
I
have
appreciate it. I
questions
enjoyed
for
it.
Joe? Just, unmute
Yeah.
yourself and, just fire away, but, see if you got any questions for Joe while he's still here tonight. No questions?
No, really.
It means Joe
Okay.
answered everybody's question that they had.
Okay,
what, Andrew?
Joe.
Do what, Andrew?
Okay, so
Oh, not hearing you, Andrew.
Yeah, we hear nothing.
We're not hearing you.
Must have muted.
No, it doesn't show him to be muted, but we can't hear him.
Yeah.
Joe, I got a question. Are you, with your paint scheme, are you talking about doing, the IC colors on the SD40-2s and like the chocolate, or what are you talking about?
Well, that's what I'm working with right now with the chocolate and the orange, and that's what we're trying to on Photoshop, trying to see what looks really nice. Have a good one, Neil. And
Good night, Neil.
Yeah, good
Glad you
idea.
could make it.
yeah, and before I start wasting paint, and start stripping and stuff, and I'm not going to have a ton of locomotives that are going to be painted for the VNMV, but I definitely won't. I'll probably have 8 or 10, just because I don't know when to say when. But I've learned something. I've learned to buy. I've got an old after ready to run GP35 that I was going to strip down that I got really cheap. No, they're gonna be on deck. I have tried to take off the handrails and the grab irons and all the details, and I have broke more stuff on that one locomotive. So I think I'm gonna go to and try to make sure I get them undecorated first before I do. I'll fix it, but I'll end up having to buy brass grab irons and everything to replace them because I broke some of the plastic ones that are just non-existent. So
You can always make your own out of brass wire.
yeah.
Yep.
Too many projects. If it's commercially available, I've just about got to buy it.
I don't know if you ever heard, and Pat may have heard this, but that Charlie Getz used to say, the past NMRA president, a couple before Gordy, is that the model railroaders tend to live 5 years longer than people who are not model railroaders. And the reason is because we have more projects to complete than anybody else.
So Cliff sent us a message the other day, and this is what I'm talking about he's building a really nice coal mine, and he's using pieces of the Walters kit, and he's kit bashing it, and he wants to replace the windows with Tichy ones, because the windows and the Tichy windows, you can actually, how many old buildings like that with all these glass, 9 and 12 pane, do you see that are always closed? They're
Right.
half open, there's panes missing. And he said, literally, this is going to cost him probably around $100 to buy just the Tichy windows enough for this one coal mine.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, but you can't make them. It would take him who knows how long, and the styrene, and you just, it's,
But the size of his coal mine is rather large.
yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Everything Cliff has is they're rather large. Kenny, you're gonna have to come over soon and take a look at it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Ooh. So anyway, we're supposed to have an operating session, the 8th or 9th, sometime next month.
Yeah,
Pretty
October
close.
the 8th, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna have an op session and work through some more stuff, and man, it's just, I'm itching to get mine up. I know Mark is too. We love the operating, and we can't wait to be able to do that.
It'll get
Can we
there. It's
join
like I said, it's
remotely?
not something that happens overnight. You know that.
No, it's not.
But
Hey,
the
Joe,
journey's
you know
most-
that,
journey's a
arch
lot of the fun
bridge?
too.
That cement arch bridge that you had a picture of?
Right?
Very ironic. I'm right now printing off a bridge just like that.
Oh yeah.
that I'm
Cool.
gonna use. Yeah, I found a file that I could print. So I started printing it. Unfortunately, the pieces take 5 to 6 hours each. And
I bet.
there's 5 pieces per bridge.
Well, this is a unique bridge. So you go up the hill at the river, and then your elevation's up here, and then it starts. I think it's easing down as you're getting toward, and then it starts going back up again a little bit. But anyway, it's all hills up to the Big Black River on the west side of it. So at the top of the bridge coming in on the west side is it's not fill. I mean, it's actually hills. So the bridge starts, crosses the Big Black River, and then when you get across the river, then it's on Chris Oak Trestle as it goes down towards Edwards, and then on the Jackson. So you've got Chris Oak Trestle on one side, you've got concrete bridge in the middle, and then you've got, it like butts up next to the hill just goes like cuts down like this. So it's pretty impressive. I don't know what I'm gonna do about the Mississippi River Bridge. I think I'm gonna have to, Mark, enlist Greg. Greg's built big bridges like that before, but I don't have to build it freestanding. It's going to be on wheels, so I can unhook the bridge and swing it around so people can walk in and out. So it's actually going to have a base to it with water on it. So it's not just going to be a bridge sitting up there. And then I got to decide if I want to build both bridges. I mean, because we have the railroad bridge, and Highway 80 used to cross it, which was obviously the main east-west, traffic before I-20. It's now closed to nothing but a walking trail, but it's still there. And then right next to it, within 20 feet, you've got the 4-lane highway bridge. So it's just not going to look right without the highway bridge next to the railroad bridge. So
it's not something you can put on a backdrop, huh?
I possibly could. You would only be able to see it from one side. Like I said, there's still a ton of who knows what I'm gonna, as get into the design of it. I mean, the biggest thing is to get the building in and get the track,
especially the first thing.
Well, Joe, you'll just have to backdate to about 1935 when they built the new Mississippi River Bridge.
Right, because I'm a steam guy. Hey, I'll have to come shopping at your house and get some steam locomotives because I don't own that many.
I've been cataloging. I have a lot more than I realized. You're welcome to come over.
No kidding.
Let you in a little secret, Mark. You probably have more than you realized, but you don't have more than the rest of us realized you had.
Yes, no, he does not. He's got a
You
nice CNG painted Baldwin I really want.
Yeah, you should have seen us moving Mark's train stuff upstairs to his house. It was load after load after load. We're talking about like big moving boxes full.
Yes.
It was box after box after box. And it was like, are we ever going to end?
I know that feeling.
We got them all, Mark. So, yeah.
I was over there one day and I took a picture of that room where they're all sitting. I sent it to my parents. I said, never tell me I ever had too many trains.
Absolutely.
There's a cap, and I was like, there's a cap. And I told my girlfriend, I said, this is the cap. If I get more than this, check me into the hotel. Other
That's
than
funny.
that, I am perfectly sane.
I think we need to start calling it, instead of Mark's train room, we start calling it the vault.
Train vault. There you go.
The train vault. So anyway,
Greg's is another hobby shop that everybody needs to go shopping.
Well, but Greg is transferring his to Mark slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Mark goes shopping at the Collins Hobby Shop. And guys, I kid y'all not, we got a couple members in the club, Mark, Greg, and the other guys. it would rival any hobby shop in the country.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
Greg's the
got-
wholesaler.
Greg's got the O scale stuff. Oh my gosh, does he? Man, he has got some amazing stuff, but he'll never, Greg's 72. Greg will never have a layout.
Y'all
So-
don't count old Gerald out. He went up to Connecticut and bought a hobby shop. So
Did you really?
Oh, man.
Wow. Gerald's, he's got that look on his face. He's like, I'm not saying nothing. Seriously, guys.
so Joe,
Sir? What's that, Andrew?
have you gone down to the Rock since the last time you've gone down there?
No.
You
It's
might-
been a couple years. Mark, it was pre-COVID when we went, right? Yeah, it was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was probably 19 when we went up there. We went in the fall.
Um,
We keep saying we're going to make another trip, but we haven't done it lately. There's just so much stuff to do. I mean, we used to come to New Orleans a couple times, 2 or 3 times a year, but they didn't pay insurance and let their roof get damaged. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Because now with Robert, he got a second Jeep 38 that's now in rock paint.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the Jeep 15 that was there, that got painted in the rock.
Oh, yeah.
And that's now down on his property in Gulfport.
Right.
And then the caboose, I want to say, that's now, he uses that, I think, for like a yard office or something.
So the Mid-South caboose that's in Gulfport, that is it's kind of an office / bunkhouse. So he stays there. He's kind of got it fixed up, and he stays there when he's down there instead of having to get a hotel. You know, he's right there at the yard. He's got it.
No, not the Mid-South one, that short little one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, that's now in rock paint. I think he uses that for the yard office on the Mid-South.
He teased the other day. He bought an F40.
Yep.
Yeah, because I've seen him been doing that because
He teased that the other day for something.
John.
Yeah, something about can he something about a Christmas deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. But hey,
Christmas train.
yeah,
Yeah, because he wants to do that to be able to have Christmas trains. I think he's doing it in Clarksdale or wherever the Rock is based out of.
yeah. It must be nice to have the money to buy all these cabooses. So he's got the Conrail, he's got the M&B, he's got the Mid-South caboose
On the Gulfport one.
down in Gulfport one there. There's another one I'm forgetting about, and
It's
then
an XNS one.
yeah. Then there's a
XNS,
Chessie caboose
MOW paint.
that he bought from the CSX that is somewhere up in Ohio, and he's having to do some work to it, so it will be he can get hit the rails again, and he said he's going to go ride it from there down to Mississippi. I'm like, hey, put me on the payroll for $1 a day. I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to go with you.
Hopefully the railroad's making money too, so that's why he can afford all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, look, hey, he's done good for himself. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we got models. He's got 1-to-1. I mean,
So do we.
Now the rest of us can say that.
Yeah.
right. But Dave, he gets to hop up in the cab and drive it anywhere time he wants to.
And then Joe, now he's actually having mall manufacturers actually make stuff for them.
Yeah, Atlas is supposed to be coming out with a Jeep. And,
Yeah, they're
and,
doing
and after
130.
did the GP15. We've got a few on order for the club. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's who would have dreamed the Rock Island in Mississippi?
Yeah.
None of us would have. I mean, but I think it's kind of cool that he's revived it. But anyway.
Mhm.
Hey, guys, thanks for indulging me for a little while tonight. I like I said, I enjoy going through my pictures, and
All right.
they're
No
not
problem,
they're not
Joe.
too-
Thanks for being here. Appreciate
Thanks
you
for
coming and
sharing.
rescheduling,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
glad
no
you
worries.
and your
Good
wife are
job.
better.
Yeah.
So,
I was,
we'll
Yeah,
go
Dave.
ahead and we'll go ahead and end it here, and I'll get this posted to the YouTube page as soon as I can. All right, fellas.
All right.
Okay,
Bye, guys.
I'll see you guys in about 3 weeks.
All right,
See you
Tom.
guys.
We'll see you
I'll be
soon.
out for
All
a
right,
couple
Tommy.
weeks.
Everybody
John,
else,
we'll
we'll
play
see
it.
you
Oh,
back
I
here next
was-
week.
I was out in Bensonville last
Y'all
week,
have a good night. We'll talk to you all
and I
later.
know I did see
Night.
the KC